pop this up here. Hopefully this is getting out. Welcome to the live stream. Hey everybody, we've got somebody joining us here. Chris, we've got a few people in the background. I'm just going to try and position this a little bit differently, looking a bit shabby, literally just got out of the ocean. Out of the beach, so I thought I'd quickly jump here on the live. So essentially, for those of you who are not aware, this is the Business Unleashed live podcast. I'm hopping on here from Sundays to Thursdays, 3 p.m. PST, and answering all questions and also talking about things like maximizing the number of clients that you generate in terms of bringing on the clients that you brought on board, which is acquisition. Second area is maximizing revenue per client. And the third area that a lot of people tend to forget is to make sure that you're closing out for essentially frequency and retention. Yeah. So I am doing this as a live Zoom. If you go to businessunleashedlive.com, you can register in the Zoom. This is being broadcast on my YouTube channel, the John Logar Facebook page, the Consulting Unleashed Facebook page, and a few other pages online, which we're going live to. And essentially, I'm hopping on here and probably answering the questions that people have around what they're doing business-wise, and more importantly, the perspective of making sure that we maximize our opportunity to generate as many sales opportunities or business opportunities in the businesses of where we're running. So I'm just going to spotlight this for everybody so we can see this, and we're good. All right, so something I wanted to talk about today, and it kind of keeps coming up, is the clarity piece. Now, most people in this game, it's all about how much money I can make today or tomorrow. They're not really thinking about the future in this business. And I have so many conversations where people are trying to find the next tactic, the next strategy, the next thing that's going to, I guess, make them the money or close the sales, when they're really not thinking about their clients. They're kind of just thinking about themselves. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a pretty good thing out there, but it really, a reason why that occurs is not because they're out there being selfish. It's because they're not really clear about what they're doing, what they're offering, who they're offering it to. And so that clarity piece just keeps coming up again and again and again. And so if we were to talk a little bit about that just for a second, and then I want to just kind of talk about another side of this that's kind of make the clarity piece a lot easier, is that the more you understand the problem that you solve, and the more you understand it in the mind of the client that you serve, the easier it is going to be able to generate clients. But part of that clarity piece is, what do you want this business to be over the long term as well? And so what I mean by long term, I would say the next 3 to 5 years. Now, if you don't have a really defined picture of what that looks like for you, then you're going to be playing the month-to-month game. You're going to be playing the week-to-week, the day-to-day. And before you know it, you would have wasted 6 months of your life not really going in any direction that you want to be heading in. And this happens to a lot of people in this game. So some of us have got some skills, some of us have got an idea, and we want to go to the marketplace. We want to share these skills and share these ideas. And so then we've got to go and start looking for clients. And then we're going to sit there and we've got to craft an offer. Then we've got to sit there and think about how much we're going to charge. And there's all these obstacles or things that get in the way of us being able to be consistent in being able to do the business. So I often hear people say, hey, look, I'm in this for the money, right? And for those people, I say, get out of this business, because if you're in this for the money, it ain't going to last too long. You're going to be broke before you even start, right? The second part, the number one thing you should be in this for, is to help people out with your skills, with your knowledge and your ideas, and know that you're going to build something that's actually valuable, right? That you add value to. So I think a lot of people who are trying to look for the game of consulting or building an agency or providing marketing services or developing a SaaS, their life in this business is very short-lived if it's about cash, right? Now, we all need it. We all need the money. But our focus really needs to be about the value that we deliver and who we deliver that value to. And more importantly, there are kind of 3 things that we've got to identify here. Is in that who do we want to help? That second piece is, can we actually help them get a result? So my question often I'm asking people is, how do you get a result for the people you serve? Can you get them a result? Can you give them an outcome? Because if you can't get them a result, then you're going to be stuck before you even go to the market. So you need to be confident in being able to deliver a result. And the third thing is can they afford to pay you, right? So not only, you know, it's great to choose people you can help, and it's great to know that you can deliver results, but you also need to know that they're willing to spend the money with you on what you have to offer, or that they can actually afford to pay you. Otherwise, you're going to be spending a lot of time having conversations with people that aren't going to take you anywhere or aren't going to give you any opportunities in the marketplace. So my thing is get super clear first, like really know your stuff, know what you're delivering, know the impact of what you deliver, know that it is something that people value and that they're already spending money on. And that's another critical factor here, is they must be spending money on what you do. If you're in the digital marketing space, the people you're working with or the people you choose to work with must be spending money on marketing. They must value marketing. If they don't value marketing and they're kind of just starting out in using online marketing as a strategy, then you're going to have to spend a lot of time educating people as to how and why this is important for them to get it right. You know, so if you're starting with smaller businesses, and a lot of people here, a lot of people I talk to want to serve small businesses. They want to save small businesses, the little guy, right? That's who they want to work for, which is a very honorable thing to do. But at the end of the day, you also have to value yourself. And I find that little businesses or small businesses really struggle with the value piece, because every penny counts and every dollar counts. So, you know, they need to hit a home run every time they go and make, or they want to hit a home run every time they put a dollar down to do some marketing. However, the game has changed, right? You know, the pandemic has created a situation where we can't heavily rely upon referral anymore. We have to look at other alternatives to be able to promote and market our businesses. And one of the fastest ways to get our businesses out there is to advertise on Facebook, on AdWords, for Google AdWords, on YouTube, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, you know, on the Google display networks. You know, using SEO with Google My Business, Gmail advertising. The number one thing to make yourself visible online right now is you need to be advertising. If you're not advertising, you don't exist. Unless they can literally search you out and find you and you've put a strategy into place, you don't exist, right? So my big question to a lot of people is, what are you doing to visibly be found in the market, and where are you spending money in advertising? Or if you're not spending money advertising, maybe it's time to look at advertising as the opportunity, and where are your customers hanging out, right? So my thing with small businesses, it is a huge market, and it's a market that is opening up right now purely because of the pandemic. And businesses aren't really being given a choice. They have to start advertising at some level. They've got to spend some money. So for people who are servicing the small business market, you have to spend time. You're going to spend a lot of time educating them. You're going to spend a lot of time educating them on the marketing process, on the sales process. You're going to spend time educating, because if you don't educate them, you're going to burn and churn through clients. So that's a really key thing. If you're dealing with bigger clients that are already used to spending money on marketing, where they're spending 30, 50, 100,000 plus on advertising or more, right? Then these clients are much easier to sell to. These clients understand the value of a lead. That's why they're spending dollars, those types of dollars on marketing. So the types of businesses will spend 30, 40, 100,000, a million plus businesses. They're not small mom and pop shops. They tend to be bigger businesses that are starting to try and scale, and they know that marketing or advertising is a channel for them to generate revenue. So these, again, goes to a targeting, or speaking to a targeting issue. And one thing I'm mindful of my sharing these ideas with you is, people will listen to what I have to say and they'll take that word as a literal gospel, and then they'll go and chase. I often say to people, if I was going to the market, I'd be targeting businesses 5 million plus. The reason I would target businesses 5 million plus is because they've got a budget. To get to 5 million, they had to spend some money to get there. That didn't happen organically, right? In a lot of cases, in most cases, they had to spend money on advertising, promotion, and marketing, right? So if they're not spending money on marketing, then they're not out in the game. So the 5 million plus businesses are the types of ideal clients that you want to maximize the opportunity to generate sales from, because they already invest. So that goes to the piece of, where do I find these types of businesses? Well, lots of sites like Inc. 5000, the fastest growing in the United States or in Europe. You can actually segregate clients that are turning over 5 million or plus. So it's not hard to find companies. Or if you're using LinkedIn as a strategy and using Sales Navigator, if you go to Sales Navigator, you can actually search based on the number of employees. So if you say 50 plus employees, you're generally going to be hitting companies of 5 million plus in the marketplace. So understand that if you want to maximize your opportunity to generate work with clients at a bigger level, they're going to have bigger teams, they're going to be bigger companies, right? So small business, you're going to spend a lot of time educating the market and helping them, and you need to really set the expectations of results. Larger businesses, they already have an understanding that market is important. They're going to be much easier to work with. They're going to be less demanding. So you want to be, you know, if you've got a service that you know is going to create a benefit, it's much easier to get a result for bigger businesses because they've got some of their marketing or some of their strategy dialed in as part of that process. So a couple of things. Be super clear about what it is that you deliver. Be super clear about the result and the outcome that you deliver to the market. So that's number two. You've got to be really clear of the result that you can deliver, because if you can speak to the result or the outcome or the promise, then that's going to make it a lot easier for you to sell to the market. Third thing is that you've got to be continually educating, indoctrinating, letting people know how great you are, because you've got to be out there in the market. If you're not out there in the market engaging the market or engaging prospective buyers or customers in the market, you're dead. You don't exist. So you've got to be active in what you do. You've got to be active in the communities of where your customers or prospective customers are. You've got to be also getting to a situation where you're using marketing or advertising as a channel to attract and engage customers as well. So part of your budget as you're growing, you're going to be investing in those types of ideas. So that's on the side of what you need to be thinking about. But the other side, the other thing that keeps coming up is a lot of people just don't know how businesses operate or how their prospective customers do business in an effective way. And so a lot of people need to learn a little bit more about who they're dealing with and how they run their own businesses. How do they acquire customers? How do they serve their customers? How do they onboard? How do they sell their customers? What is the buyer's journey? You know, what is the journey that a prospective customer takes to buy or to invest, right? In their services or their business? What's their sales cycle? What's their sales process? What's the average customer spend? What are the different product categories that they provide to the market? Do they just provide one product, or do they have 5 or several products? Have they built databases? Do they connect socially? Have they built a community or a tribe? These are all the things that you want to know about your prospective market. And the more you know about that, the more you understand those things, the more results you're going to get, or the easier it is to communicate and engage with those customers in the marketplace. So number one, I want to understand the market. Google is your friend when it comes to understanding your business, how much a customer will pay, what the buyer's journeys are. There's lots of information online about industries, about niches, about the types of businesses, how they market. There's no shortage of background that you can check on, but there's nothing that beats actually talking to the market. You want to be able to speak to your prospective customer and make sure that you engage and ask them questions and understand and know them. And even in these conversations, I often find that having that type of conversation will lead you to actually getting a customer. Just asking those sorts of questions like an interview. There's a fantastic website. It's called leanstack.com, leanstack.com. And it's an interviewing process on a structure to map out a buyer's journey. And oftentimes you can use this type of Socratic questioning to really understand how a market operates, right? To really understand how they think, how they buy, what they do, when they do it, how they make decisions. Understanding that buyer's journey is a very powerful mechanism. In fact, it's a great way to open a conversation with a prospective customer and ask them, do you know the buying cycle? Do you know the buying triggers or decisions, or are you aware? And do you have that from the client's mouth or the customer's mouth? So one thing that I would highly recommend everybody do is do a lean stack interview on your market, on the prospective customers that you want to serve. Ask questions, give feedback, provide a little bit of a help in terms of what you're doing, reaching out to people. This is the fastest way to get clients, right? But the more you understand about how they run their business, the more you understand where they struggle, where their challenges are, the easier it is for you to actually generate those clients. And I find one of the things that people struggle with, and I'm hallucinating when I say this to you, or if you're listening to this, there's a couple of aspects of this. I think people just don't have the confidence to go and talk to business owners. That's the first thing. It's like, what do I say? What do I ask? Well, there's a whole bunch of processes to do that, but you're going to have to learn pretty quick to talk to your prospective customers, right? You're going to have to learn pretty fast. The second reason I think is that they don't think that this is a really critical piece in the puzzle, is to really understand how your product or service fits in with what direction they're taking as well. And so I see that that there's a confidence issue, and then there's a kind of understanding or knowing what to do. And people forget, most people don't ask enough questions. They tend to have a convoluted approach to their presentations and their sales processes. And when they're doing strategy sessions, which really is a Q&A to putting a proposal together for a lot of people, and I'll talk about on another episode, you know, the whole idea of the sales process and sales cycle. But when they're doing this, they're not asking enough questions. What they want to do is they're too eager to sell what they've got to offer rather than understand how what they've got to offer is going to make an impact or help their prospective customer and their agenda. And that's really probably the big key to this process, is that level of understanding. My favorite quote from Stephen Covey, who wrote the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, Steve Covey, wrote in his book, and I think it's the fourth habit. And the fourth habit is seek to understand and then seek to be understood. So what he means by seek to understand is really take the time to listen. Take the time to listen and hear the message, hear the voice, hear what the client or what the prospective customer is saying. And on the other side of that coin, that once you have that level of understanding, you seek to be understood is how do you serve or how do you help your prospective customer from the seek to understood. So seek to understand first and then seek to be understood is the easiest sales process on the planet. And most people forget that because they want to spend too much time talking about what they do or how they can help, or they get into the technical weeds of things, and they tend to speak to the top of their people's heads. They don't speak to the person or the ear, right, or to their eyes. They're speaking over above people's heads because they just don't understand or they don't get it, right? So they're looking at you as like, well, you know, how important is this or how valuable is this service to my business? So I was having this conversation with one of my champions, Chris, and he was in a situation, and we had this discussion before he was going into a pitch. So one of the things that I do with people is coach them before they go into a deal. I had just had somebody on the weekend, on last Friday, just an hour before they were going to a presentation, and they literally closed an $8,000 deposit on the spot and a $36,000 deal just with one little conversation and a structure. So I was sitting down with Chris, and we were talking about a particular prospect that he was going to visit, and he was worded up on the prospect, right? So what happened was he was told by the marketing director of the company that the CEO hates agency people. He absolutely despises marketing people, right? And this was going to be a very tough conversation. And Chris is like, oh, do I really want to go there with this person? And I said to Chris, I said, look, at the end of the day, he's giving you the meeting. Like, the guy is interested. He's interested enough to give you the time. He's interested enough to listen to what you've got to offer. But what I would do is I would turn the tables. The way I would turn the tables on is I would walk in saying, hey, I know that you think that I'm full of rubbish, right? I know that you think that marketing people and advertising people are essentially liars, right? And so I'm not here really to lie. I'm here to kind of get very clear about what it is that you actually want and what your expectations are and what sort of outcomes, because you've given me this time in this meeting to understand how we can help you. So to be able to do that, I want to just ask you some very clear questions about what you're doing, where you're heading, why is this important, and what have we got to do to be able to help you. Otherwise, I will finish this meeting right here and now and walk out and say, thanks for coming. You're not making any progress or any decisions moving forward. So Chris took what I said. He knew he was going into an adversarial situation, and he basically called the CEO out and said, listen, I know you're busy. I know you're going to switch off in this meeting in the next 3 minutes. You think that people like us, charlatans, snake oil salespeople, and I get that. I understand that. But I'm more interested in about being very, very clear about why this is important for you. And so he spent 45 minutes talking to the CEO. The CEO was only giving him 10 minutes. So from a 10-minute conversation, ended up being a 45-minute conversation. In that 45-minute conversation, the CEO spoke for 40 minutes of that conversation. Chris only spent 5 minutes asking questions, and the CEO spoke for 40 minutes. And literally just rambled on exactly what he wanted. And at the end of that conversation, Chris said, well, basically what I'm telling you is these are the things that must happen. These are the things you want. This is the direction you want to take in. And this is what your expectations are from marketing. Would that be clear? And the guy said, yep. And I said, so if we sat down and provided a plan that walked through that outcome, the budget for this thing is roughly this. If you can handle the budget and we can have a clear path to a proven path to the outcome you're looking for, I guess the only thing we've got to do is to get started. That was the close. And the person said, yes. The adversarial CEO said, yeah, that's exactly what I want. right? These are the things that I'm looking for. These are the outcomes. This is the objective. I understand that I've got to put this budget in place. If you can show me how we're going to get there, then I'm in. So we went from a situation of an adversarial conversation to one where all Chris did was just ask questions and take the time to understand what was really important to that CEO. And the marketing director pulled Chris aside as he was walking out saying, I don't know what happened in there. I don't know what you did, but he's never had that kind of meeting with anybody. Normally he just sits there, folds his arms and, makes kind of his own mind up within a few minutes and leaves the meeting. So I've never seen him sit down for that length of time being engaged, right? I don't know what you did, right? And Chris looked at him and said, well, I just asked him what was important to him, and he told me. And so ideally what we're going to do is we're going to put a plan in place and work together and get that done. So one of the things you want to be mindful of is that concept of seek to understand and then seek to be understood, is that oftentimes we're very quick to share what we know, what we do, rather than saying, hey, what really needs to happen here? In fact, I find most sales conversations are way too long. Most sales conversations should take, 20, 30 minutes max, even for people investing significant amounts of money in the service. Because if you've understood what the issues are and the questions are, and you've understood completely what the client is looking for, then all they want to know is that you're able to deliver it. That's really all they want to get to. 80% of the sale is already made before you even get there. If you're being invited to the table to have that discussion or have that conversation, right, that person has pretty much made their mind that they need some help. They're not going to waste their time with you without the consideration that they're, if they're hearing the right sort of thing, they're going to make a purchasing decision. They need to know a couple of things. They need to know, one, that you're capable. Number two, that, they're heading in the right direction in what they're doing. And number three, that, the investment they're making is something that they can handle as part of that process. And they have a whole bunch of questions around those sort of things. But if you have all the information, if you understand and you've asked all your questions prior to your presentation, then when you pitch, you just focus on the key factors of what the objective is, why that objective is really important, what's holding them back from reaching that outcome, how you have a plan to actually bridge the gap from where they are to where they want to be, and then give them a choice, a couple of choices to say which direction do you want to go in, this direction or this direction, so it becomes a yes or a yes scenario. And then you can ask, can we move ahead with this process? If we've answered all the questions and you're okay with what we're talking about here and you're okay with the investment, I guess the only thing we've got to do is, what do you think we should do? Should we start? And it does get that simple when you have all the information. So a couple of things in this conversation, right? Number one, be super clear about your business, where you're heading, what you're doing, right? This is going to help you a long way to engaging, attracting, and working with clients when you're very clear, because when you're clear, they're clear, right? Number two, make sure that you can deliver the result. Be confident you can deliver an outcome result, because if you are, it's going to be much easier to sell. Number three, only work with people who you're interested in working with, that you know you can help, and that you know that will pay you, right? You know that they're going to invest. The best people to work with are people who invest in marketing. Very hard to work with people who don't invest in marketing or invest in marketing for the first time. If you are, and more people are getting into the game of spending money on advertising promotion, and the reason why is because they have to. The smaller businesses these days are looking for your solutions. If you're going to work with smaller businesses, be very clear about the expectation. Be very clear that you're going to be spending a lot of time educating them, providing them with information, and this provides you with an opportunity to build your clients as well, right? But know that you're going to have to educate them, know that you're going to have to engage them, know that you're going to have to help them understand how the mechanism of advertising or promotion works with you. That's what you're going to do with smaller businesses. Bigger businesses, they kind of already know that. They know they've got to make the money or spend the money to get the outcome, right? So that's something you've got to be taking into consideration. I apologize for the back noise or background noise. I am out in the open, and so there are people around me, but I thought this is, I just literally hopped off the beach and had a bit of a swim. You can see I'm still wet. So I'm just, I just thought I'd quickly run here because I'm running to time. So I will answer a question, and I am taking questions here in the group. Chris asked me, how do I factor in KPIs, SLAs, in engaging customers, prospects, and vendors? So to me, there's really only 4 KPIs. There's only 4. The number of leads you generate, the number of appointments that you actually have, the number of presentations you deliver, and the amount of sales you make. So LAPS, that's what we talk about. These are the KPIs of the people that I work with in Consultant Champions or that I coach personally in my programs. We talk about the number of leads that you acquire, the number of appointments that you set, the number of presentations that you deliver from those appointments where you qualify them, and then the number of sales that are actually made. They're the only key KPIs you need to have, Chris. As for KPIs, if you're hiring people like appointment setters, your appointment setters should be making at least 1 appointment per hour for you. If they're working 3 hours a day, that's 3 appointments a day, 15 appointments per week, right? If you're working with appointment setters, that's a KPI. 25 dials per hour, 1 appointment per hour, that should be the standard that you're expecting from an appointment setter. From salespeople, if you're working with salespeople, you're looking for a 1 in 3 conversion rate. 33.3% conversion rate is what you want to aim for as a standard KPI. That means that if they will put in front of 10 people, they will close 3 to 4 sales. If they'll put in front of 10 people taking your sales process, they're going to be closing 3 to 4 sales as a KPI. So the real KPI is how many brand new leads you generate in your business every week. How many of those leads do you turn into appointments? And how many of those appointments then are qualified for you to deliver a presentation to? And then how many sales you make out of that. So if we were looking at some KPIs around some numbers, let's say we would get 100 leads. Let's say we've got 100 leads off Facebook, right? That might cost us anywhere between $500 to $1,000 to get 100 leads off Facebook for us, right? So out of 100 leads, you want to basically have 30 qualifying calls. You want to go from 100, you want to 1 in 3 convert into some form of phone call. If you're doing a lead ad, that's not hard to do. That's not hard to do. So out of 30 people, you want to work towards 10 to 15 presentations. So 10 to 15 people out of 100 will qualify for what you do. And out of 10 to 15 people, you're going to close 3 to 5 deals. That's the deal. So if you looked at those metrics, for 100 lead bundle that you might spend on Facebook getting them in, if you're using lead ads, from 100, you want to get down, from 100 people, you want to be closing about 3 to 5 deals is about your average on 100 people from the market. So Chris, I'm hoping that those KPIs, I've answered your question about the key performance indicators in activity. If you were asking me what the biggest failure in our world is the lack of activity in generating leads. That's probably the biggest failure. And the other thing that people are terrible at is they're terrible at selling, right? They have a very convoluted approach to sales. It is more driven by price and what they deliver. It's less about what the client is actually looking for to get a result. So they tend to be very generic in a lot of cases. But what I might do is I might speak to that on tomorrow's episode, where we talk about the sales process, or we talk about how we can actually minimize our risk. I had somebody had a conversation with me last week. They've got 12 deals out there that are all offers, and they haven't closed a single deal. And the reason they haven't closed them is they didn't ask, right? But then in this conversation, I had a message this morning that they closed one of the deals where they went back and they asked them if they wanted to go ahead. So one of the 12 is already closed, but they still haven't spoken. There's still another 9 or so people to speak to. So 1 in 3 has closed. It's working at 33% conversion rate, right? But that's, from a key performance indicator, how many appointments, how many leads, how many appointments, how many presentations, and how many sales. LAPS, that's the laps. So if you've got a question, feel free to type it in the chat here. I am going to be here from Australian time Monday to Friday Australian time. We're here at Australian time. It is 9 a.m. Brisbane time. It's 10 a.m. Sydney time. Every day, where I'm going to be answering questions, sharing tactics, strategies, preferably in a non-noisy area, somewhere where it's a little bit more quieter. But if you have a question, do type it in the chat, and I'm happy to answer your questions. I know there's a few people here joining me on the Zooms. And like I said, the Zoom link will come out every day. It is being posted in our Consulting Unleashed Facebook group. It's on the John Logar page, the YouTube channel. So with that, thanks for joining me here on Business Unleashed Live. Unless you've got a question, you can type in the chat and I'm happy to answer your question. If you've got a pressing question about your strategy, about your business that you want me to answer, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to type in so I can answer those questions for you. Otherwise, I'm going to say thanks for being here, and I'm going to see you same time, same channel, same bat channel. Tanya, good to have you. Howard, Chris, Rajesh, we've got a few people here live. If you've got a question, just type in. Chris says, hey, thanks. Do you also consider SLA with that? service level agreement. So yes, absolutely. You want to, you want to. How many of those agreements do you want to sign up as a standard? I mean, this is something you set for yourself, Chris, as part of this process. So so yeah. So for me, I want to be closing. You know, out of, if I was doing presentations, my worst case scenario would be 3 in 10. That's what you want to be aiming for as a standard. So with that, there's no other questions. I want to thank you. If you do have questions, go into the Facebook group and ask questions, and I'll actually answer them here on the lives, give you some very concise and clear answers. With that, and if you want to just chat, you can chat into the comments of the live as well. You can join me here every day on the Zoom call where I can directly interact with you and answer your questions as well. But with that, I want to say thank you for being here. I will see you same time, same bat channel tomorrow. Howard Tayano, yes.
Yeah, hey.
Yes.
Where are the recordings of these? I
Consulting Unleashed. Go to the John Logar Facebook page. You'll see it sitting there. So it should be appearing alive. If I go to my Facebook right now, it should be. I should be appearing live in my Facebook as we speak. As we speak, where are we? And of course, my feed is not working. Okay, we've got a technical glitch. We do have a technical glitch. Okay, so yes, I'll make sure that this link is posted in the Facebook group today. If you don't see it, I will have a video posted in the group.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, man.
Thank you. And to answer Chris's point here, where are we now relative to last year business-wise? Probably in the greatest opportunity in the history of mankind, because right now we're being vaccinated. We're coming out of our lockdowns and social distancing, and countries are starting to focus on productivity. There's lots of new businesses starting up. There's lots of people with money around right now. Our economies are working quite well. You know, there've been a few glitches and blips, but the market is looking very strong, and lots of businesses are wanting to get out there. A lot of businesses realize they've actually got to get very clear about marketing. So to answer your question, Chris, I think this is a very optimum time to be working with lots of businesses, because most businesses have not got their digital marketing right, and they need it fixed, and they don't know who to go to. There's nowhere, you know, this is a skills-based scenario that people require skills that they don't have. They can't just hire people randomly. They need to hire people who know what they're doing, and then need to hire people with experience. So what's the market looking? It's huge, and it's looking huge in pretty much every industry. In fact, I'm even seeing some amazing marketing happening in the travel industry, surprisingly, especially in the domestic travel markets. There's a lot of money being spent on domestic travel right now. So so things are moving in the right direction, and there are significantly brand new markets opening up right now. It's huge. Yes, restaurants are coming back. Restaurants are coming back. They're not going away. In fact, there are a lot of new restaurants opening up, which is interesting to see. But yeah, they are coming back. And there are a lot of restaurants that are doing very well coming back into the reopens, because I think, you know, people kind of want to get back out there as well. So I think things are moving in the right direction. And like I said, I think 2021 is probably the biggest, these next 3 years for the digital marketing space is probably the biggest opportunity this industry has ever had for growth. So if you're in this for all the right reasons and you want to build and establish a really good business, you're in the right space, because technology is changing, services are changing, demand is changing, and people need your help. People need your skills, and they need your support. So with that, I want to say thank you for sharing with me. Thank you for hanging with me. I'll be here, same time, same bat channel tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about sales. I'm going to talk about converting. I'm going to talk about perhaps some of the key aspects to maximize the opportunity to generate as many sales as possible. So I want to say thanks for being here. I will see you on the interwebs. I will share this video in those other channels. So thanks for watching.